So I wanted to give it some time before I got into this discussion about Mizrak and Olrox. Um, Last year, I did a quick review on them, but didn't really go into too much detail. I want to let you guys all know that there is going to be some spoilers for Castlevania Nocturne Season 2. So if you haven't watched the season, I highly recommend you watch it, then come back to this video. That being said, this video is going to be discussing just my opinion on the dynamic between Mizrak and Olrox in Season 2, and just kind of picking up where we left off from Season 1. So if this interests you, please stick along. It's going to be somewhat of a long video. So that being said, let's get into today's discussion. So Mizrak and Olrox, where do I begin? So in Season 1, we're introduced to Olrox, who is an Aztec vampire, hundreds if not thousands of years old. He killed our main protagonist, Richter's mother, at the beginning of the series, and that's kind of how we got kickstarted with him. He's got, some beef with his mom. And then we're introduced to Mizrak a couple episodes later, and he is the, lead knight assisting the abbot. Still not entirely sure what his title is, but he swings his sword around. That being said, we're introduced to Mizrak, and Mizrak is a very devout Catholic. I would imagine Catholic or Christian. Not really sure which one. I'm assuming Catholic though. And he is super devout, right? And so you're thinking, okay, nothing too special about him. And then we get this scene between him and Olrox when Olrox is kind of interrogating Mizrak and vice versa, and they're kind of going back and forth, wrestling as it seems, and still not getting any alarm bells. Well, I was getting alarm bells. I was like, okay, I feel like they're flirting, but you know what, maybe I'm misreading it. And then couple of panels later, they're waking up in bed next together. So we've established that they had some type of attraction to each other, but that's not what this video is going to be about. I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview about how these two know each other. So in Season 1, they basically we have this love story between them, or blossoming love story between the two of them, and it's very one-sided, if you want my honest opinion. At least it reads that way. Well, Olrox is very, honest about the relationship. He appears to be more of the pursuer, right? And then Mizrak vocally seems to be against everything that Olrox stands for, but he is attracted to him, he's infatuated by him, and he still ends up in the bed with him, right? So Mizrak kind of comes across as a walking contradiction, whereas Olrox, it just seems like Olrox is kind of used to the type of personality Mizrak is, so he doesn't pay it any mind. Some of the things that comes out of Mizrak's mouth, I'm just are you hearing yourself though, my guy? You're going on and on and on about your beliefs, but you are actively participating in God's children being converted into night creatures, and without a second thought, right? You're actively, you're aware that vampires exist, and you're actively supporting them, and you're actively sleeping with one, but you draw the line at certain turns. It's really weird with Mizrak, and I get it. The people who drew Mizrak, they ate down, because he seems like he'd be a very attractive man in real life. Great jawline, great hairline. The body is, the body's giving what it needs to give. But that can't be enough. Sometimes Mizrak comes across as dense at times. So it was my hope going into Season 2 that we would see some growth, and we did. Season 1 kind of ended off on a cliffhanger. Mizrak did not have some nice words for Olrox at the end of it. He basically called Olrox a coward for not helping assist him with Ursabet. It just did not end. It wasn't a pretty ending, and I know my tone of voice doesn't seem like I was rooting for them, but I actually am rooting for them. I want them to have a happy ending. So that Season 1 was just wasn't the ideal. So going into Season 2, it's not really heavily focused on their relationship, but you see Mizrak doesn't seem as intense around Olrox as far as the hypocrisy. He seems to be a bit more relaxed. And there's one particular scene that comes to mind when Olrox is basically saying, hey, things are about to get real. I'm going to head home. I would like you to come with me. And then Mizrak was like, well, I would love to join you. However, I wouldn't want to be, on the run from Ursabet for the rest of my life. That's no way to live. And you can kind of tell that Mizrak, he doesn't want to be beholden to anyone else. He wants to be able to kind of make his own decisions, and he definitely is not a person to run, which I do find to be commendable and almost relatable. And I know Olrox was like, okay, well, suit yourself. The offer is always there. And then, Olrox kind of disappears, and Mizrak said, hey, I hope that you find peace. And it was a really cool, like, it wasn't as intense as he normally is. Normally, Mizrak got something nasty coming out of his mouth, something mean, right? And so he was just pretty mature, right? And I thought that was a little too easy, though, because we didn't get enough screen time with them together. We had a couple of scenes, like, throughout the season, but just nothing to really talk about. And I think what we're all really here for during this conversation is kind of what happens at the end. So obviously there's like multiple fights going on, and Mizrak, like, this is towards the end. This is when Girolta and Ursabet, everything's kind of hitting the fan. Olrox is fighting, I believe he was fighting Ursabet. I could be wrong. But he was fighting against Ursabet, and then Mizrak ends up getting impaled by a random vampire. And I want to talk about that real quick, because the way he got, like, sliced or stabbed was kind of lame. Like, Mizrak, all that muscle, my guy. I'm not saying the muscle's going to stop the sword, but, like, I don't know. It just seemed like he gave up mid-fight and, like, got stabbed, like, on accident. So anyways, Mizrak gets stabbed. Olrox comes running over to him, and then it just kind of pans over to, like, the next scene where, Mizrak is, like, kind of, like, on his deathbed, and he's, like, worried about death, naturally so. And I thought that was really cool that they kind of gave him, like, I don't know, a time to just be himself. I think that's the most realist he's been since he was introduced. Like, he wasn't, like, at a 10. He was just kind of like, I don't want to die. He didn't say I didn't want to die, but he implied that. And then Olrox, I guess he took that as permission to convert or transform or, I don't know, turn Mizrak into a vampire. And I'm a little on the fence about that. Part of me wanted Mizrak to just kind of, stand in it and say, hey, I want to be with you forever. Turn me into a vampire. And he kind of lightly touched base on it in season 1 when Olrox said that that's how he turned his last lover. And Mizrak was like, oh, does that mean you love me? And then Olrox was like, no, I don't love you. We're just humping, right? So I guess that gave Mizrak the confirmation that, yeah, Olrox clearly loves you. But I would have rather have had a conversation between the two of them. Kind of like the consent of it all, because being turned into a vampire with, like, immortality, like, that's a huge life decision. And I'd feel more comfortable if Mizrak had a conversation about it ahead of time, but he didn't. So then we're kind of treated to, like, kind of like what to expect with their relationship. They're really horny, and they're probably humping a lot, and it seems like the sex got better because he was a vampire. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a sector on the internet that's going to create and draw and give us the visuals for those of you guys that are into that kind of thing. But yeah, I kind of wanted more depth in the relationship, because I feel like there was a lot to work with. And, like, Mizrak in particular, I want to like his character, but he just comes across as, like, a church queen, and a very exhausting one at that. Like, he doing all this hollering about God this and God that, but boy, you are laid up with a vampire, and I don't know, whatever if you're getting pounded or if you're giving the pounding, like, you're in bed with a whole vampire talking about this kind of stuff. Like, make it make sense. And you're serving the abbot, who the abbot was supposed to be abstinent, and then he had a whole daughter, out of wedlock. And I believe both Mizrak and the abbot have an oath to celibacy. So I don't know if maybe Mizrak messing around with Olrox was kind of a way around that, but I think the celibacy is in general, not just with women. But that's beside the point. It just kind of just goes to show, like, at the end of the day, like, humans are gonna human, and humans have needs and are flawed and, are not perfect. And I think that should be the overarching message here, is that, the heart wants what the heart wants. But I don't know. I wanted more from this couple, and I know that they're not like the main characters. I have no complaints with Olrox though. Everything about him, I feel like we got a full just story arc from him, and I just think that Mizrak, something was missing this season, and I just, maybe it was the creators didn't have enough time to really pour into him. Yeah, I just kind of wanted more. But what do you guys think about this? I know that there's an entire section on the internet that is so upset about several things about Castlevania Nocturne, mainly the DE and I of it all, the LGBTQ, this, that, and the third. And I played some of the games. I'm not really into the lore like that. But I too grew up in church, and there's nothing about Castlevania that screams Bible study Sunday, going to church on Sunday. So I don't understand why people are so upset, as if the universe, like this particular story in this universe, is not filled with satanic themes, demons, vampires, and all sorts of unholy stuff, and you guys are mad about the LGBTQ stuff. Really? Like, we're really mad about that? It's just, y'all gotta find something else to be upset about, because this is all fiction at the end of the day. Like, be so for real. But yeah, what did you guys think about Mizrak and Olrox and how things wrapped up? And do you even think we need a season 3 going into the relationship, or do you think them running off to God knows where and just living in bliss until Richter knocks on Olrox's door for that get back? Because it's coming. But yeah, do you think they should have had a happy ending, and should they have had a different outcome? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Oh my goodness. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. And as always, I'm going to try to keep more Castlevania videos coming in. I got to figure out how I want to format these. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments.